Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to Coffee and a Card. I'm Lorraine Sish. My blog is stampwithlorraine.com, and I am a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from the Baltimore, Maryland area. And I welcome you. If you are joining on live, please stop and say hello in the comments. If you like, tell us where you're from. It's always fun to see where everyone is watching from. And if you're watching the replay, I thank you as well. I know everybody can't be on. At this time, it's 10 a.m. on Friday morning, June 28th. I can't believe we're at the end of June. Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Oh my goodness. I hope you have your morning beverage, whatever it is you like to drink. I'm just getting a marker here for something I want to write down. So welcome, say hello. We are going to be playing around with one of my favorite things to do is to take inspiration from a card, either one I've done in the past or one I see in the catalog or online someplace. And I like to change it up a little bit. And if you change it up enough times, one step at a time, eventually it's going to become a totally new card, right? So not that there's anything wrong with the original card or casing it, copying and sharing everything, because people put their work out there to share. And that's what it's all about, sharing our ideas and being creative with them. So taking them one step at a time, taking one thing and changing it up, you do that over and over enough times, it's going to be a totally new card. And looking at one to the other, you'll say, wait, how did you get from there to there? Well, this is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So I am actually going to start with pecan pie today. Okay. And I gave you in the Facebook post I put out yesterday, and if you're on my newsletter, you got the materials that you need for this particular card. So just wait a couple seconds, a minute or so until people hop on, say good morning. Oh, look at everybody. Hey. If you are part of my Daisy Bunch, just type Daisy Bunch in the comments, and then people will know that you're a team member watching. All right. We've named our team the Daisy Bunch because years ago, my logo, I chose the daisy for my logo. So it just kind of seemed natural that my team would be something to do with daisies. So why not the Daisy Bunch? That's what we do. So I've been fond of collecting things with daisies on them. I have my mug. You've seen this before. And life is good. It is. Okay. No matter what's going on in your life, try to find something positive and focus on that and try to keep those good feelings and, keep them in check. Don't let the other things overwhelm you. And try to find that balance in your life. It really is. Okay, that's my word of wisdom for today. Okay, good morning, Barbara, Darlene, and Joan, and Eileen, and Patty, Wanda. Oh my gosh, wow, look at all my, a lot of my regular friends and some new names too. Welcome, everybody. I hope you have some great weekend plans. Okay, so take a sip of your beverage, sit back, relax, or if you're crafting along, let me know who is crafting along today. These were kind of easy things to prep. I hope you're crafting along. If not live, then you can watch the replay and do it then too. Okay, so I'm going to take another sip of my coffee. I am actually drinking a blend today of Pete's. Okay, I've heard of Pete's coffee. I like the Pete's coffee, but I bought some coffee beans in Mexico. And we tried them once, my family, and it was good. They have little chocolatey notes to them. It's not the recipe Mexican coffee, which has some cocoa in it and it's very sweet. Okay, we had that when we were at the resort in Mexico. It's very good, but I can't drink a whole cup of it. Little sips are good. And then I would sometimes mix it with the regular coffee. But anyway, so I bought some beans as a souvenir. And they do have a little bit of chocolatey notes to them. So I mixed that with my Pete's today, and that's what I'm drinking, kind of half and half blend. So it's kind of fun. All right. All right, so let's get started. Oh, I have a little smudge here. Oh boy, let me see if I can get that off of my adhesive eraser. Love these things. If you don't have one, you should get one because we can never help getting a little bit of sticky glue on something once in a while, and it just rubs it off. Okay, so I usually rub in one direction and pull it away from the paper. And what happens is it just kind of balls up on this little gummy eraser. And eventually you can just kind of pull those little wads of rolled up glue off, throw it in the garbage. And these things are really, really cheap. They're like a dollar or less, so whatever. I got a bunch of them on Amazon. You can get them at the craft store. Whatever. All right, let's get started. Oh, another one here. Oh my goodness. I pulled out a piece of grid paper that I thought was a clean one, but it was obviously used before. That's okay. I use them to death. Maybe not on camera, but you know what? I'm going to show you. Look down here. Right? That's part of. I will use this up completely. I know my friend Melissa Faust does the same thing. I know. Why? It still works. Still works. Okay, so you need, for our craft today, you need a card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Of course, if you want, you can have the fold up at the top. That's okay, but we're making a vertical card. All right. Then you need 3 strips of the same color, which will be 5 by 1 1/4 each. Right, and I did mention that they will be embossed, so I'm just going to emboss it while I'm on with you this morning. All righty. Okay, we got people from Arizona and Pennsylvania and Ontario, North Carolina. I know there's South Carolina on there and Colorado. Nice. Okay, then we need same color cardstock. Going to be kind of a little monochromatic, with little pops of color here and there. Same color cardstock. This is 2 3/4 wide by 4 inches tall. Just want to check my number there. 2 3/4 by 4. And then we're going to have another white piece that's a layer, and that's going to be just 1/4 inch less. So 2.5 by 3 3/4. Okay, and that's all the paper you need. Oh, aside from, if you have a dark color, you're going to want a piece of white for the inside here. All right, so let me just grab that for myself. Okay, so that's going to be for your inside. Okay, I'm going to run this. My other samples are a little bit more feminine, so I like to kind of take an idea and do a feminine, more masculine or neutral version. So I'm going to make this one a little bit more masculine. That's why I'm doing the brown. This is pecan pie, and I'm going to emboss this with the timber embossing folder. So let me flip my camera so you can see, flip the view here a little bit, and then switch it over. There we go. Better, right? And speaking of switching over, I'm going to switch over my glasses. These are my bifocals, so if I want to see things, I'd like look up to see my camera over there. All right. There we go. These are a little pecan pie-ish too. Little browns in there. Ah, that's better. Much better. All right, so I'm going to emboss all 3 of these strips at the same time. If you are crafting along, tell us what you are using. What color cardstock are you using? Maybe what embossing folder? Okay, so for our sandwich, this is a 3D embossing folder, meaning it's very thick, and there's different variations in how deep the embossing goes. That's what makes it 3D. In the regular embossing folders, there's just 2 levels. There's the concave and the convex, just kind of like 2 levels of the embossing. With these, you can see multiple heights to how deep it goes into the paper. All right, so for the 3D, all you need is your number 1 plate, your embossing folder with your cardstock, and your number 4 plate, this big gray one. And you don't have to memorize that because the formula is right on the number 1 plate. So I love when Stampin' Up! Did that. I'm just going to run that through my machine. And speaking of machines, they are 10% off until Sunday. Okay, just a couple more days. The big machines, the little machine, and even the Boho Blue mini machine. So if you don't have one of these Stampin' Cut and Emboss machines, I suggest it's a good time. And if you already have the big one, try getting the little one, or vice versa. You can't do everything with the little one. That's why I always suggest for people to, if you can afford it, start with the big one, because you'll be able to do these bigger folders. In the minis, you'd only be able to do certain mini folders, embossing folders. A lot of dies can go through the mini, but not everything. But I like that as my secondary one. I like to keep it on my desk when I'm running things like, little flowers. A lot of the things I die cut are small. So it is nice to keep that handy. Or if I'm traveling, or if I want to just go downstairs in front of the TV and crank some things out, it's kind of easy. So 10% off those machines, plus 10% off stamp sets in the bundles. An additional 10%. In the catalog, they're already 10%. If they're bundled together, if it's a new stamp set and die bundle, they are 10% off for the first year. But now they're an additional 10% off. So grab those if you can. All right, so we are going to just take these embossed strips. I'm going to glue them on the front here. It's just going to be our next layer. And it will show up because it's different texture. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to glue that down. And I love using my grid paper, especially this top part up here when I want to center something. So when I'm doing 3 of something, I like to start with the middle one, because once I get that one centered, I can easily just eyeball the 2 side ones. And so I will take this over here. Since this is 4 1/4, then that means I'm going a little past the 2. Okay, these grids are 1/4 inch, so I'm going like 2 1/8 on either side. And then I can center this one in the middle, using that 0 right there, and lining up with the vertical lines there. Okay, so if you're crafting long, go ahead. Let's glue these down. Okay. Oh, thanks, Gwen. You look forward to my creation. Woo. Well, I'm reminding everybody, like I said, I just love getting inspiration from other people and tweaking it. Okay, that's just so much fun to me. Okay. And we do that all the time, right? If you are, I'm going to use remodeling a kitchen because my daughter and son-in-law are going through that right now. What do? You look online, you look at the kitchen stores, you look in magazines, you look at other people's kitchen, you look for ideas, right? It isn't like, oh, I'm not going to look, I'm going to put my blinders on, I have to think of this all by myself. No, you look around, you find things that you like and what combinations you like and what you want to do with it, right? Okay, if you're planning anything, you're planning a party, okay, you want decorations, where do? You look online, you look at Pinterest, you look in the stores, you ask other people, what did you do, right? Planning a wedding or whatever. You look at other people's ideas and then you tweak them to make them your own, or you take them exactly the same, say, oh, I love it, I'm going to do that. So think of the same thing with your cards creations. I need to scroll up here. All right. Great. Hi, Joan. Hi, Sue. Hi, Lydia. Lydia is part of my Daisy bunch, and she and I are trying to plan a get together for lunch, but sometimes life happens and we have to postpone. But we are looking forward to meeting up in person at some point real soon and going to lunch. She lives about 45 minutes from me, so not too far. Okay, so now we have texture on there. It isn't just plain cardstock. It gives a little interest there. All right, and I guess with the embossing folder, you could have made these lines, the circles of the timber, go vertical or horizontal. It really doesn't matter too much with this one. It's pretty subtle either way. All right. Then I asked you to have some ink, the same color as your cardstock, and a blending brush, because we are going to put just a little bit of a glow of color on that white piece before we decorate it and put it down on our layer here. Okay, a lot of you who might not have heard, I take my plastic bag from my Stampin' Blends. This usually holds 2 blends. And when I get them new, I put labels on them where I could read the names of them a little better. I use my P-Touch label maker. And then I have them in a holder up over behind me over there. So I don't need the bags, but I use them. They're perfect little cover for my Stampin' Blend to keep them clean, to keep them, when I use them, I put them back in here there before I'm not going to get ink on anything else. All right. So since I did get a kind of a new paper here, let me grab something here that don't mess up. All right, so when you're going to add a little blend of color, like a little glow behind here, remember, don't just come straight onto your paper from your ink pad with your blending brush. Because if you come straight down, let me try to exaggerate this a little bit. I'll do it on this scrap paper here. You're going to get kind of like those little brush marks from the tip of the brush as you impact the paper. So what you want to do is tap off any excess ink. You don't, it seems a little counterintuitive. If you ink it up, then you wipe it off, right? But you want just very little glow, and you always want to start in a circular motion. If I were to be blending the whole paper, I would start off the page with a circular motion and then come onto my paper. But I'm not going to be doing that this time. I only want a little bit in the middle. So start with just a little bit of ink and start that circular motion, like get warmed up. Okay, start the motion. And when you come down on the paper, do it very, very lightly. Think of it like coming in on a plane with a very gentle landing. You don't want to boom, 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 all right? You want very soft, gentle landing. I start moving. I touch it very, very lightly. And then I'll start putting a little bit more pressure on there to get the ink off. And that way I'm not going to get that bristly look from the tips of the blending brush. Very lightly, like a feather touch to start. And then on we go here. Hello, Arlene from Alberta. Good to have you on. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to have just that little bit of a glow to add some interest to the back of that. All right, that's it. Put that aside, put that aside. I'm going to cover this up. You can wipe off the excess, and it's good to go for the next one. I keep one for each of my color families. I have one brush for browns, one for greens, one for yellow, one for orange, etc. Doesn't matter which brown I'm using, it's going to be fine because I just wiped off the excess and it's not going to be a problem going on to the next color. All good. But I put that plastic on it just so I don't hit it up against something else and it does come off some of the color. Okay. Also, like I said, it keeps it clean, keeps it dust free. All right. As it's sitting in a cup on the side of my tool carousel here. All righty. So eventually this is going to go on there like that. We're going to pop that up with dimensional dots. We are going to glue this on there, but first I like to decorate it. And I'm going to use the Hearts and Hugs bundle. So stamp set and dies. Comes with dies to cut out all of these little guys. Plus, well, it doesn't cut out those particular hearts, but you do have groups of 2 hearts here. You cut them out individually, like I did here, but they are the die is connecting the 2 hearts. So you don't have to do 1 heart at a time. So you actually have 2 of those, 2 groups of 2. Okay, the flowers, you have a group of 2 flowers and you have some individual flowers as well. All right, on this one, I am going to actually, before I stamp, I'm going to use this little critter here. There's been debate. Is it a chipmunk? Is it a hamster? Is it a gerbil? It's whatever you want it to be. any furry little creature you want it to be. Okay, I am going to actually, before I stamp and cut him out or her, I'm going to use this little bridge of hearts to cut those out right there on the top. So it's going to give me a little border up there. So onto my sandwich here for my embossing. We don't need the gray. We do need the white number 2 plate. This is like a little shim, a little something you need in between your 2 lucite plates. Now, remember, when you're using your plates, remember to flip them. If you do it the same way each time, they're going to start warping and bending, and then you're not going to have any good luck using those. But if you flip them just about every time you use them and try to use different parts of it, the same part won't keep getting so etched deeply, and also it will stay flat. Look how etched this is. I've used it a lot, but it's still nice and flat. All right, so just remember to be doing that. I like to keep the same one on the bottom till it gets super etched and I don't want to be using it anymore. Sometimes those etchings can show up on your paper a little bit, or with very detailed dies, you might not get a nice clean cut if it's too etched underneath. Some of the bigger ones, not a problem, or the frames, like this, cutting out the walruses, then it's not a big deal. But you be the judge. If it starts to not look so good, change your plate. Okay, so we're going to put that there, and I'm going to just use a little piece of washi tape to hold it in place. And I'm going to run that through. Put my number 3 plate. So you have a sandwich of 3, 2, 3 plates. I'm going to run that through. And if you wanted, you can save those little hearts that will get cut out. Probably because they're white, I won't bother. But who knows, it could make nice confetti or just stick them on something, I guess. And look how cute those little guys are. And when it is very etched, it will stick to there. But I have a little dish here. I'll put my little pieces in. See this? My daughter gave me this. It's like a little crab, little Maryland blue crab. Isn't he adorable? So this could be for, I think my daughter originally bought it for my tea bags. Like a little tea bag holder. When you're done with it, you put it there. But it works nicely on my desktop here. And then I'm always reminded of her. All right, very carefully pull your washi off so that you do not pull the paper. All right, this washi's been used a few times. If you're using something new, stick it to your hand, your skin a little bit, get some of the stickiness off, or your clothes, and then put it on your paper. It'll be enough to hold your die in place, but not pull up on the paper. Or if your die is big enough, try to not catch the actual cardstock here. All right. Ooh, that's on my camera just froze. I wonder if you saw that. Oh well, we're back, which is all good. All right, so now we're going to have some little brown hearts on the top there, which is cute. Adds a nice little frame. I love that. Makes me think, and when you have this, it almost looks like he's juggling the hearts, right? All right, so let's stamp our little guy, and of course we'll die cut him out. I have a piece of spare paper here, and the one thing I want to remind everybody, just want to point out, sometimes the images on the front cover are not the full size of the stamp, so don't let that fool you when you're trying to pick something out. For instance, down here it says images on the cover are 95%. So inside they are just a little bit bigger. Not all of them. It all depends on what the images are and how they fit on the rubber. Now, I save these little pieces that came out of the middle of their bodies, and I think some of you might have remembered seeing me that I used those once for a background for a card. All right, so we're going to put this little guy on the stamp here. I'm going to stamp him in black. I'm going to color him with blends. Oh, this is cute. So cute. So cute. All right. I'm going to grab some, I think some crumb cake and some pecan pie blend. Excuse me 1 second. Of course, the blends come in light and dark, so you have some things to play with. Nice to kind of start lighter, then you can always add more color if you want. All right, so we will, I am going to, well, one thing you can do is you can test your colors here. So make yourself a little palette. There's the light crumb cake. There's the dark. It does dry a little lighter than what it starts out as. And then the pecan pie, light and dark. Okay, so that's kind of my color palette for this guy. I'm going to start out with, you know what? I might want a little pink for inside his ears. So let me try. Let me see what. See, the petal pink is a little more orangey than, say, bubble bath. There's a difference there. A little more orangey on the petal pink. I think I'm just going to use a little of this, just a little bit inside his ears. Here we go. Okay. So I am going to, this is the first time I've colored this guy. I have a lot of nerve doing this for the first time with you guys. That's okay. All right, I am going to start with the pecan pie, the light pecan pie. I'm going to go around the edges and then work my way in, start blending it in a little bit. See how that works. And then you want to think about where the shadowing will be. Usually if he's round, then the front of him is going to be closer to you and probably catch a little bit more light. So usually you might want to make the belly part a little lighter, maybe the cheeks a little bit. So maybe I'll bring in a little bit of the crumb cake. I'll start with the light. I can always add to it, right? And maybe I'll make these part lighter too. Maybe I'll add a tiny touch of pink to that. Right? And maybe the top of them might be a little lighter because there's sunlight there. Right? Who knows? I'm going to blend that all. before I do, maybe I'll just do little bits dark around the edges for some highlights. Down here would be darker, right? Right, gotta play around with it. I know it can be a little intimidating sometimes playing around with the blends. All right, so now we're back to the light pecan. I'm gonna kind of smear that in there a little bit. We'll come back and work on that little bit of his belly and the cheeks. Try to blend that in a little bit more. Going back with a light crumb cake. Sometimes you need to wait a little bit for it to get wet so that the colors will blend a little bit more together. You kind of see how they blended a little bit over here. I have some of the darker, some of the lighter in between. I think I'm going to bring a little bit more of the light pecan in here. Don't want that too shiny up too much there. And then I'll just kind of blend that in a little. Okay, that looks fine. I think I might add, like I said, just a touch, a little pink over the crumb cake for the hands and the feet. All right, cute, right? Okay. Okay, Sue, I see you're crafting along, and I'm sorry if I missed seeing what you're using. I hope you're having a good time there. I'm just touching up the little white spots that I missed. And I think I'll make his nose pink too. Nothing like a pink nose to make a critter cute, right? Here we go. Look how cute. Adorable. Put my blends aside. We're going to die cut him out. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. If you can avoid getting your washi tape or post-it note, whatever. Post-it notes are quite as sticky as the washi tape. But you can avoid getting it on your actual paper or your image. I like to put it on the frame and then press it down on the outside. So there's none touching my actual image and what the part I'm going to use. All right, so I'm going to run that through. I'm flipping over my plate, making my sandwich, putting the number 2 plate under and the number 1 plate under that. I'm going to crank that through. Oh no. I rubbed it a little too much and that came off. Let me get this on here. All right. Okie dokie. Remember, if there is a straight edge to your die or the embossing folder, if you're able to angle it a little bit and put whatever thinner part, a corner or a thinner part of your die through the embossing machine first, it will go a lot easier. For instance, if I were running this through the machine, I would not crank it through this way because it has to go over this hump, right? It would go in much smoother if you put the skinny end first. So keep that in mind. You're not going to get that a big hump like when you're going over a speed bump on the road. Put your dies back as soon as you can. Either have a collection spot. Some people have magnetic bowls that are kind of the size but round and they're magnetic. You can throw your dies in there. Or I like to put them back on my magnetic sheet if I can. I'm so excited. My order from Stamp and Storage is coming very soon. Very soon. All right, so this guy is going on there like that. Isn't he so sweet? Oh, goodness. Okay, and then we need, before I put everything together, I like to have my elements ready to go. So we have some hearts up there. We're going to keep this a little on the masculine side. So I'm going to, instead of using the flowers that are on here, there are some die cuts that make the flowers. Now, I could put another little heart on there, but just to save a little time, I'm actually going to use my bow punch. I love this. Good for flowery cards, or more masculine cards, or neutral cards. I'm going to use a little piece of crumb cake and a little pecan pie. Okay, I thought maybe I had a smaller piece. All right, so I haven't done this card, so this is the first time with you. I've done other versions, so I could show you, but we're just going to take these and I'm going to cut the bottoms off. It's going to hopefully give it a little bit of a woodsy feel, like, you know, like these, let's see. Where should that be? Well, I want the sentiment down below. So I'll put that up there, I think, like that. Right? Why not? I think that will work. So keeping pretty monochromatic, right? Okay, so I'm going to actually glue these guys down here. All right. I agree. Darlene, yeah, coloring the animals is a little intimidating. Some inanimate objects are a little easier. I don't know, just because living things have personalities. You don't want to do them a disservice. But, you know, it's just practice. Just practice. And often, you know what I find? As I'm doing it, I might be rather intimidated, but when I go back and look at it later, it's okay. You know, it's like when you're working on something, you're trying to work it out, trying to figure it out. You don't like any of your ideas or whatever, but take a break, walk away, come back and look at it later. You're one step removed and you can look at it more objectively. And same thing with, often I'll take a picture of something. I'll take my phone and I'll actually take a picture of what I'm looking at, because just looking at it through the phone puts things in a little bit of a different light. It's not quite as there and personal in front of you. And it, I don't know, just gives you a different perspective. And so I'm just going to cut another little piece here. You see, I'm cutting up some of the leaves and I'll just put, you know, a little something over there just for some balance. Right. I thought it was too one-sided. Okay, some of you by now might have looked on page 61 of the annual catalog and where the stamp set and die set are. And you might realize that I'm kind of casing that card that's on that page. I'm going to put little dimensionals behind this guy. And That's kind of close. I'll put 3. Then I'm going to show you other ways to case the same card and come up with different ideas. All right. Here we go. All right, I want to add, that's the dark. I want to just blend some of those lines in there a little bit more. What's nice is you can go back and do that. Okay, just a little too stark. Okay, I think that's fine. Well, I'll save this little thing for the inside. Now I can glue this down. And it can be a little kid's card or a masculine card. Just pop that on there with dimensionals. I know I put too much dimensionals sometimes. Maybe one in the middle. I don't like if the edges are sagging. So I will err on the side of putting a couple extra. They're cheap enough. And why take away something from your card, right? All right, that's going there. So even though it's just all monochromatic, it looks fun. Right now we need a little sentiment. So I'm actually going to bring in some crumb cake for the sentiment because stamping on the pecan pie might be a little too dark. So I will stamp. I'm using the same stamp on all my samples that I did today. We're doing the sending a big hug. Stamping with Memento Black on a 1/2 inch strip of paper. Have tons of those around. And of course I did it crooked. You flip it over. Okay. And if you trust yourself, you can just cut it or use your trimmer. Okay, and then I'm just going to fit that down there underneath his feet. You want to cover those cute little feet. Okay, so bringing in the crumb cake. Makes it a little easier to see. Is it adorable? Oh, hi Tina from Wyoming. Nice to see you. Okay, so yeah, so Patty, it is easy, right? 100 dimensional. So yep, I know, Kathy. I really don't like if it's looking saggy. So for an extra, what are they? A penny a piece or less? I don't know if it's worth it, right? Okay, so let me show you what was my inspiration today. Like I said, like I said, I was going to put this in here, right? And then I could put my little other thing there. So while I'm doing that, look on page 61 of the catalog. Right here in the middle was my inspiration. And I'm just going to help you get some ideas on how to create new things with something you see in the catalog or elsewhere. Sometimes I get my inspiration from a card, a non-homemade card. Sometimes I'm sitting in the post office, I'm looking at the rack of cards and I'm gasping at how much they are. I say, I can make that for like a whole lot less. And mine would be prettier. All right, so I'll put this little thing right in there. I know it's a flower, but it's okay. Just adds a little something. I have that on the front anyway, right? He's like in the woods. He's in a little garden or something. So even though it's all pecan pie, all brown, I think it looks adorable. I'm pleased with how that came out. Like when I meet with you guys, I get an idea. I said, okay, I want to do this card, and I'm going to show you ways to mix it up. Like I said, um, so I make cards that I could show you after I do the card that I want to do with you. So usually, what I do with you, I haven't made before. I just have the idea. So let me show you actually this card with these pieces. And I have it started, and I'll show you other ideas to do with that. Okay, all the stuff. I've been dreaming of how to make my work table bigger. I have another small table just like the one I work on. I have one in the garage. It needs feet. It's just a tabletop. I'm thinking, if I put them together, yeah, I'll have less room around the table, but I'll have a bigger table. And I think I might still be able to have enough room around the table, just be tight. But you know what? I'm not running laps around the table. I'm just getting up for an ink pad or whatever. I don't know. No matter what space you have, you end up using it, right? Oh, thanks, guys. I'm glad you liked that card. All right, so here we go. I'm going to keep this here. I started this one. That was from the catalog. I did mine in lemon lolly, and I don't know if theirs was Daffodil Delight or not. Could have been. Sometimes you can't tell with camera lighting. It might be Daffodil Delight, but I love the lemon lolly, so I said, I'm doing that. So there's another way you can change up your card. Choose a different color. So then my base, my first, I used exposed brick for my embossing on this one. All right, so that's another way, change up the embossing. I already did my blending, and I have dimensionals on the back ready to go together. I already did the die cutting, but I wanted to show you how they come. So we have this piece here, cut this. All right. In the catalog, there is some other greenery in the back that looks like pecan pie to me. And I mean, not pecan pie, pretty peacock. I never use a pecan pie. So I just went with the darker green, and rather than try to look through my stash and try to find out what that other die cut was, I just went to one of my go-to, nice and easy. I went to the bow punch. So I'm going to glue those down in the background, just like I did for behind this little critter. I should just give them a name rather than saying, oh, this person, that one. I don't know. I'll ask my grandkids. They're good at naming. We had some tree swallows in a bird box behind our house. It was an empty bird box for a long time. Nobody was moving in. We're trying to attract some bluebirds that are in other boxes in the area. The tree swallows moved in, which is fine. They're good. Love watching them. They eventually laid eggs, had babies, and the babies fledged. And so now it's vacant. So sad. Anyway, my neighbor who helped put the box up and loves birds, she monitors all the bird boxes around. She said, you have to name your Mr. and Mrs. I said, I don't know what's the name. So I asked the kids, and my grandson said, oh, what should we name the male? He said, Roy. Okay, so male was Roy. And I asked my 3-year-old granddaughter, I said, what should we name the female, the lady, the mommy? She said, Miss. So it's Roy and Miss. Anyway, we miss Roy and Miss right now because off they went on to other adventures. And so going down, I love how this little flower stems are attached to this little piece of grass down here, this little hill. Okay, and I already stamped my sentiment and put dimensionals on the back. That was crooked, so I just flipped it over, used it again. All right, so I'm putting my glue on these little spots where the flowers go. A lot easier than trying to hold this and put the glue on that and put it down. Put your glue on the paper that you're gluing to. I have 3 of those. This one I'm just copying as best I can from the catalog. Copy and share everything, or save everything, whatever. Right, then we have some hearts. And there were to be, oh, here. In the catalog, there are 3. Remember the dies punched out 2 and 2. So I'll put one on the inside. So there's one here. I can't tell if some are popped up with dimensionals or not. Maybe they are. You would need the minis for that. And maybe I'll do that. Love these little mini dies. They just fit on those hearts. Okay, they have one over there. Yeah, that's kind of nice. It adds something different layer. Another one there. Don't like that it covers those leaves too much. I'll try to avoid that. There we go. Cute, right? All right, I'm a little off center. Oh, wow. Put that here. And on there. Center it. And then I already have my dimensionals on the back here. And they had it just on the bottom. So we still see the grass, but we don't see the space in between. So there we go, right? So you have 2 different cards, right? So I save that little one, put it on the inside. You can always put it down there. Okay, actually I have an extra flower as well. So that's good. Let me show you some other ideas. Or you know what? Oh, we have to put our pearls on. These are old. These are some old pearls. I said, I'm not buying new things, new pearl type things until I use up my old ones. So first I have to find the opening. Here it is. Okay, there were pearls in the middle of the flowers. I think the new pearls might be a little bit different size. It might be a little bit bigger. But these other ones are way too big for me. But that just brings a nice little sophistication, a little highlights the center of the flowers. Isn't it so cute? Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so in the comments, we'll take a couple seconds. Tell me ways, okay, besides color, okay, we could see, okay, there we could change the color. What are ways that we can change up a card and make it a little different? Right, obviously using a color, different stamp set, and different embossing. Can you think of some other ways? Other ways to make it a little different? Okay, type some ideas in the comments. See what you guys come up with before I show you some of the things that I did. I'll gather them while you're typing or thinking. Some other things that can be done. Any ideas? You know, I'll look at some of the other comments here and see if I can answer any of your questions. Okay, just remember, Facebook people, I will see your comments as I watch the replay. YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, I can't go back and see the comments you're leaving live. If you wanted to say something for me to see later, or you have a question, you can type it in the comments as you watch the replay. Okay, there's a place to put comments for that particular video. It's not going to be in real time, but it will be attached to that video. All right. So, oh, Smithtown, New York. That's it's not on Long Island, Nikki, if I remember correctly. All right. Richie, Florida. Oh, okay. That's good. That's on the east coast of Florida, Marianne. I think it's, yeah, I visit my dad on the east coast. Okay, Tampa. Hi, Kathleen, Daisy Bunch. Tahitian Tide Patty's using. Oh, okay, can't wait to see it. All right, so remember the cards that you're making, and Sue, can't wait to see yours. Post on the Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, post your sample on there. All right. So I usually put a separate post up after I do my live showing the cards that we did, and then you can put yours in the comments. All right, underneath that one. That way they're all together and we can see all the variations. All right. Okay. So, oh, East Coast. All right. Yep. Good, Marianne. All righty. Lots of rain down there, right? We've been getting a lot of rain, I hear, which is good. Well, actually, my father said some places are getting rain, but he wasn't. I guess north and south of him were, and then he wasn't getting as much as it. It's very spotty in Florida. I know. It's crazy. Patty, you have to give a second look. I know, it's adorable. I saw this when I went to the convention, and it was just so cute when I went to Texas. So I saw it on stage. So those of you who are demonstrators, hope to see you in Raleigh when we do our next Stamp It Up convention, just for demonstrators. So hopefully you'll join, because you get to see a lot of new stuff and you fall in love with it. All right, so you can change the stamp set that you use, the image you use. Here's one I did, just a different color. Okay, so here's some changes that I did. I did it in coral. A lot of similarities, right? But differences, I did it in Calypso Coral. Instead of centering this, I offset it a little left and top. I put rhinestones in the middle instead of the pearls, give it a little more shine, because the darker color I felt needed that. And instead of stamping on a label, I just stamped right on the white, and I added my heart down there because I really did love seeing those leaves and the stems a little bit more. I love them both. They're both so sweet, but it looks nice in the coral. And I changed up the embossing folder. So basically the same card, the same idea, just some subtle changes. So I used the distressed tile on that one. Okay, I love that one. Oh, here's a sample of it that I put a little blending brush to make it look a little worn, so to speak, and it brings out the decorative design on there a little bit more too. Okay, so there we go. There's some 3, and here's one that I did in white. So that's another idea. You don't have to use a color. You can just use the white with a pop of color. I used Lost Lagoon. I love Lost Lagoon. Do you love Lost Lagoon? Give me a thumbs up. It's just that little bluish green, a sagey green, just so subtle. I love that. So I still did my blending brush in the back. Same here with this. I used the coral. Just highlights it a little bit more, gives it a little more interest, right? Just that little bit of a glow. And I just used the bow punch for my focal image. And I popped this up with dimensionals, and I angle cut the label, okay, on both sides. So instead of leaving it straight, so different thing you can do, you can change the label a little bit. Of course, you can always have maybe a circle or another small punch label. Then instead of putting embellishments on, I used this ribbon. Last I looked a few days ago, it was not available, but it should be coming back in July, I think. I can put that in the comments later on. It's iridescent striped ribbon. So very see-through, but it's got those nice iridescence, which kind of catch a little kind of pinkish and green and yellow tones to it. So I thought that looked really nice on there to bring a little bit of shine, a little bit of sparkle to the card. And that's so elegant. So that could be a wedding card or shower card, right? Even. All right. So just change up your sentiment. So that's another idea. Going white. And then, of course, you don't have to use embossed strips at all. Use other kinds of strips. So use VSP. And then your layer. You could put this little guy. I meant to kind of show you what it would look like on here before I glued it down, but I forgot. But that's okay. You can put that little guy right on there, and you have strips of DSP instead of embossed. So on and on it goes. You can put this on an angle, have a little more whimsical look to it. You can have a horizontal card. I would cut this down maybe just a little bit, or if you don't mind it this way, that could be okay too, as long as it matches up just right. You can have it horizontal, right? You can even put strips on diagonally and then cut them off at the end, and you have another different look. So lots of ideas. Change up the colors, change up any little thing. So you don't have to start your ideas from scratch, guys, right? That's kind of what I'm giving you permission to do. Take an idea that you already see and then you know and you like, and just make it your own in whatever way you can. And I'll put this over here, and I'll just put this here. So yeah, you can have your image this way, right? Horizontal card, and just have that as like that, and put something across. Put two of these guys holding hands. How cute would that be? Or put the walruses across there. That would be cute too, right? Ooh, kind of like that. I don't know what they do with the barnyard behind them. That might not kind of look too right. Maybe that might just not blend. But anyway, you get the idea, right? So anyway, I hope you've been inspired. Some things to do over the weekend, right? Use this for your weekend inspiration. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can, let me put some information up here. If you can email me at Lorraine@stampwithlorraine.com. And if you are interested in ordering and taking advantage of that bundle sale, it's bundles with dies, not bundles with punches. Okay, so just the bundles with the dies, an additional 10% off, and of course the embossing machines. I have a special offer going on. If you spend $50 or more, I will give you a little pack, a quarter pack of a current designer series paper. It'll be a surprise. I have several, so it'll be a random, and some card bases to match, and a tutorial that will go along with that particular DSP design. If you spend $100 or more, I will double it. I'll give you two different ones, so that you can play around with that a little bit. All right, so that's only until Sunday night. All right, till when the sale is over. All righty. So if you do want to order and you want to take advantage of that, you have to use this host code. Where is it? Here we go. All right, there you go. Have to use that host code to take advantage of that order. That's how I know I can pinpoint, people who will be getting those gifts. All right, so that's the host code for June. Even if you don't spend $50, you can use that host code. All right, if you spend $150, okay, now this is tricky. You do not have to use a host code, because you will, if you don't use a host code, you will earn rewards yourself. Okay, but you have to reach 150 level. You'll earn 10% reward, so you get $15 in credit to use but I will still give you the two DSP and cardstock collections. Okay. All right. So 1/4 inch should be cut 6 by 6, and I hope you can take advantage of that. All right, guys. Some things coming up. There's some specials coming up in July. Also, I am going to be putting out soon a bingo game, a bingo night. I haven't done that since last October, so it's been a while. I'm going to have a bingo night, and we're going to have a Christmas in July theme. So there's some neat things coming out with Stamp It Up, and we'll highlight some of those. So we'll have Christmas in July bingo. So stay tuned for Facebook and on my newsletter for that. If you're not on my newsletter, go to my blog, stampwithlorraine.com, and you can sign up for my newsletter there and get a free tutorial at the same time. All right, guys. Thanks again for popping on. Have a great weekend and see you next time. Bye-bye now.